At this time, I'd like to call the regular meeting to order for the Nashville Town Council for May 3rd, 2022. Let us stand for our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. Father, we just invite you into this meeting. We request your guidance and leadership in all the decisions that we make to make Nashville the best town possible. Amen. Amen. There are no public comments tonight, so at this time we'll move to, we'll move to the first item on our agenda. So it is, well, we've got to check our minutes first. So look at 3A, and let's look at the March 22nd minutes, the meetings from the March 22nd meeting. Are there any corrections to those minutes?
Move to approve.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
The meetings for April 5th, 2022. Any corrections to those? If not, do I hear a motion for us to approve these minutes? Second?
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
There are no public comments, general public comments, but we need to move to the public hearing. The first one is the recodification of the town code. Do I hear a motion that we go into a public hearing for that item?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the recodification of the town code? If not,
I was wondering if Randy would go over the changes that were made.
Sure. So, as you know, we've been working on this a while. It was last recodified in 2009. And what a recodification is, you know, from time to time we amend our code, add another ordinance, another chapter, and then about every 5 years we have those put into our big thick code book. So that's where we're at. Right now, this recodification will incorporate the ordinances adopted since 2009, and they include an amendment to Chapter 38 on sewer surcharges. They include Ordinance 19-02A, which was Chapter 26, Article 2, making the Park and Rec Advisory Board the tree board.
So we actually have a legitimate standalone tree board. So was that all?
It came after that.
Okay.
There were other things in that advisory board. There was a subsequent ordinance that we adopted that created the.
Okay.
I don't know if that one's in this codification.
Anything that was approved by the council after January 1, 2021 is not reflected in this new code.
Okay.
So that one will get picked up next time, so
Okay.
to speak. Then we had Article 3, Division 3, regulating street trees. That's included in this codification. Chapter 36, which sets 25-mile-an-hour speed limit on beech tree. We have an ordinance amending Chapter 36, Article 4, amending sheriff parking in front of the courthouse on Washington Street. And then, of course, the big one we did was the commercial property maintenance ordinance. So all those are included in this codification at this time.
Randy, we also did a speed limit change on Cedar Street to 25 miles per hour by the cemetery.
Okay?
Was that the same time as Beech Tree?
That was before Beech Tree. So that should be in there also.
Unless, do you think that was prior to,
No, it was after 09.
it was after on that?
Okay. I'll check on it.
Well, the public hearing tonight is on adding these, and we'll double check on that one. That might be one that slipped through, that we can pick up in the subsequent codification,
Or a supplement.
or a supplement, yeah.
and they were the 6th, is that correct, Randy?
Yes.
Do I hear a motion that we that to approve these resolutions for 2022-12, that we adopt those?
Did you want to close the public
Do we do
hearing?
that?
Oh,
While we
we
come out
have-
of public, need to come out of public hearing first.
Oh, okay.
Move to Close public hearing.
Okay. Do I hear a motion that we approve these?
So
I move that we come out of public hearing.
We did.
Okay.
Second.
We did, you did? Okay.
I thought somebody
Okay,
did.
now we do, okay.
Okay, is there a motion that we approve these 6 recodification?
So made.
Is there a
Second.
second? All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
The next item on our agenda is the Mayo Farm Holding annexation, and I need a motion for us to go into public hearing on that.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll turn that over to you, Randy.
Sure. So, as you know, a while back, Bob Mishler with Ashton Woods Development came and presented to us, and we went through a process to approve a subdivision on the Mayo Farm holding property. It's 118 acres to the west of the Nashville Middle School and Glover Park. Bob is with us here this evening. They petitioned for annexation of that 118 acres. You ordered the clerk to do a sufficiency of that annexation application. That was presented at the last council meeting. Everything checked out on that, so you went ahead and scheduled it for a public hearing. So tonight is the public hearing on annexing that 118 acres into the town of Nashville. So at this time, if anybody in the public wanted to speak for or against that annexation, the podium stands available. Bob, did you want to speak toward it?
No, but I'm happy to answer any questions at any moment I can.
If there's no one that would like to speak, do I hear a motion that we come out of the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Do I hear a motion that the Mayo Farm, for the Mayo Farm Holdings being annexed into the town of Nashville?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
So they're now annexed.
Oh, we'll be-
Thank you so much. Okay, let's move to the next item, and do we have someone here that served Nashville very well by the name of Ronnie Denton? Could you please come forward?
It doesn't look like him, but I think, I think
He
they're still,
looks
he
retired.
looks retired, but I think they're still him.
Come on up here, Ronnie.
So used to singing
How you
this
doing,
town
Ronnie?
uniform.
First of all, I would like to say this is a jewel. He served Nashville and he served us well, and we just appreciate it so much. But I would like to give you this honor. It's a resolution in appreciation of Ronnie Denton. Whereas the town of Nashville is always appreciative of those who choose to serve for the betterment of the town, and whereas Ronnie Denton served the town of Nashville as the Public Utilities Superintendent in the Nashville Public Works Department from 2012 to 2022. And whereas it is fitting that the town of Nashville shows its appreciation when one has rendered service to the town. Now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and town council of the town of Nashville that Ronnie Denton is hereby acknowledged as having been a good, loyal, and faithful public servant of the Public Works Department, and that on behalf of the citizens of the town of Nashville, we express deep appreciation for the valuable service which he, Ronnie, provided to the town. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be presented to Ronnie Denton, and a copy of the same shall be placed within the permanent records of the town of Nashville. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Like I said, thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for putting up with me for 10 years.
And happy retirement.
And it's already been busy. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is the risk tree inventory, and at this time I'll turn it over to Dr. Street.
He's got a PowerPoint on his desktop.
Thank you. Distinguished council, I stand here as the chairman of your tree board to present to you our risk tree inventory has been completed by John Suggs. I'll not be long because I'll turn this all over to him. But our strategy is after the presentation is made, the tree board's going to have another meeting to recommend an action plan for the town and what to do with our risk trees and a few other things. We worked on this thing rather hard, And if you'll notice, if you've read this document, you'll see the number of trees that we've looked at on public property, which includes the perimeter of the park down there, but not in the deep woods. There's like 268 trees, which are very few trees, because our town is rapidly becoming denuded of overhead. I've been planting trees on land now for the last 10 years, and 448 trees per acre is considered normal planting. So we've got about a half an acre of trees by marketable standards planted across the whole town. So these are things we've got to look at. Before I turn this over to John, I'd also like to beseech you as you move forward with your budget work that you consider giving us some money for next year, because we got plannings to come up with and other things. I'd like to recommend that you give us at least $10,000. Or more, 'cause I see, I can see by the look on your eyes that that's a very small number. But anyway, we are gonna need that, because we got some trees removed and things that are very expensive unless we unload it on somebody else. Okay, without further ado then, as I'm interfering with my wife's supper, I'll get along quickly. John, this is John Suggs, who's done our risk study for us, and has just received new employment. Now, I understand he's the tree guide and the maintainer down at East Carolina University, where I used to teach. In those days, it was called EZU.
Yeah, I remember that from the 80s.
Thank you.
So things have come full circle for me, so I'm back at my alma mater from the 80s and actually working there, helping to manage their grounds operations and their campus arborist. So after almost 22 years of self-employment, so.
Give him the mouse. He doesn't like your trackpad.
Okay. So, all right, so I guess I'll move the slides along. Okay, first of all, I just want to thank Coy and Ashley and Chris for all the help that they provided in Mr. Street, and a lot of the hard work went into this, a lot of walking up and down the streets and collecting the data and so forth. So now we'll move along. As y'all know, this project was funded in part by a matching grant from the North Carolina Forest Service. The inventory is needed in order to evaluate the characteristics and condition of the town's trees in order to develop a tree management program, and also to provide the town of Nashville with the opportunity to maximize the value and benefits of publicly owned trees and to minimize the problems that can be associated with them. The advantages of the tree inventory are that administrators, managers, and property owners will have an increased awareness of the current magnitude, condition, and needs of their tree resource. This awareness can be maintained by updating the information as work is completed and other changes occur, allowing the community to efficiently and effectively manage the future of publicly owned trees. Practical goals that can be realized from the tree inventory are improved response to public inquiry, more efficient scheduling of labor and equipment, realistic budget request, and long-term planning, and improved relations among other municipal and private services. Data collection and inventory methods included location by GPS, the identification of each tree, which has the botanical and the common name. Tree size, DBH, stands for diameter at breast height, so most of the trees were measured at about 4.5 feet above the ground. Some of the smaller ones were measured down lower. A condition rating of good, fair, poor, or dead. Various tree problems were identified, maintenance actions in response to those tree problems. A hazard rating for this particular tree inventory, because this was a risk tree inventory, not a complete inventory of the entire town. And the hazard rating was high, medium, and low. And then general notes on each tree. The risk tree inventoried portion of Nashville's community forest. Resulted in the number of trees, assessed for the risk assessment. Mostly those, I would say 10 inches in diameter or larger. Smaller ones don't present risk. So mostly all of your larger trees on anywhere on town property. Species diversity, and I didn't count to the total. That will come up, but I think you had like 31 different species just for the risk portion of the inventory, which is pretty impressive, I think. Of course, you'd have a lot more if we inventoried the entire town. Tree size, of course, tree problems, risk rating, maintenance actions. And I think we just did that, didn't we? Okay. And let's see. All right, removal and pruning. Or for the recommendations, removal and pruning as a result of the inventory. Some of the trees, not many, were designated for removal, and others just to be pruned to keep them in a safe condition. Retention and maintenance of larger trees, as we can see, can be an issue along Washington Street. Structurally prune your young trees so that when they become mature, you won't have flaws in them that could make them more hazardous. And also a chance to increase species diversity in your planting, so whenever trees are removed, you can plant back, but in general, you don't want any one species to make up more than 10% of your total tree population. Because if you ever had a disease or like Dutch elm disease or emerald ash borer, chestnut blight, something like that, and you have like 30% of one kind of tree, then you'd have about 30% of your population wiped out. So that's the importance, the reason for the importance of that. And there's the end result, your problem tree and action list. Each tree was assigned an ID number. There's the species column there, the DBH, so you can see how large the tree is. And so if you've got a remove over to the far right, you know, get an idea of how much work you're going to have to do and how big the tree is going to be that you're going to have to take down. There are the tree conditions there, which in this instance don't always correlate with the risk rating. You can have a large decayed tree ready to fall at any time, but if there's no target beneath, if it's out on the greenway or out in the middle of a park with nothing underneath, then the risk is still going to be low because there's no target beneath. So that is what was pretty cool about this tree inventory, because I picked up on everything that could be a possible risk by looking at what was underneath in the instance that it should fail. And then over to the right, you can see all the actions there. You've got, I don't know what the total number of removes are there. It looks like probably about 10, and then you've got 9, and then you've got a couple of prunes in there. There's all the species that we had, and they were rated from the most prevalent at the top to the least prevalent down at the bottom. Again, I didn't count that before I got here, but I think it was about 31, something like that.
And there's 30 species there.
Okay, so I was close. Thanks. Okay, and the next, tree condition of just the trees inventoried, the larger trees. You came out about like most of the probably 50 cities and towns and tree inventories I've done over the past 20 plus years. You ended up with about 75% in good condition, and I guess about 25% in fair condition, and then just a very small number there in poor condition, and almost none that were dead, less than 1%. And that kind of reflects things across the board that I've seen over the past 2 decades out of all the inventories I've done in all the cities and towns. So your trees are not in any worse shape than any other city or town, or maybe not in any better shape, but that's because you've got quite a number of large old trees, and you want to try to keep them if you can, as long as there's not risk. So, and that is it. Well, it's actually supposed to be, well, what was supposed to come out for that is discussion. If, you know, if there's, yeah, there you go. In case there's, y'all have any questions, or there's anything for discussion or whatever.
John, I have a question. Of the 72%, did you notice if they were all similar age? Or was it a variety of ages?
I would say there's a variety of ages. You can look at the size, the pH, and the smaller ones, of course, are going to be younger trees, in most cases. You know, some of the small.
Speaking of microphones,
Okay. Yeah, so there'll be various ages and sizes and so forth. Now, if you got some smaller, there may have been a couple of dogwoods. You don't think of inventorying dogwoods as hazard trees, but there might have been a couple in there that they don't get much bigger than 10 or 12 inches anyway, but they're obviously going to be older because they don't get that big anyway, and so that size dogwood is going to be much older than that size of an oak tree or something. So.
Any other questions? Okay, we thank you so very much.
You're quite
and
welcome.
we will take this information and digest it and see where we need to go. Thank you so much, and thanks to the tree committee. We appreciate all that you've done in getting us this information.
We'll get you an action plan.
I bet you will. Thank you so much. The next item on our agenda is Kids to Park Day, and I'll turn that over to Coy.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
This is something that the town has done over the past several years, which is recognize Kids to Park Day. This was launched by the National Parks Trust, encouraging families to be active and visit local parks on the third Saturday each May. This year, Kids to Park Day will be held May 21st. We do have a couple programs on that day. Specifically, we have a spring container gardening class going on in Stony Creek Environmental Park, if anybody's interested in signing up for it. Some other activities that we have during May that are outside in the park. We have an outdoor movie night on May 14th from 7 to 10. And we also have our third concert in our music series on May 20th down in Stony Creek Environmental Park. So we do have a proclamation, and Mayor, if you would like, I can read it, or if you would like to read it.
You can read it.
Okay. Whereas May 21st, 2022 is the 12th Kids to Park Day organized and launched by the National Park Trust, held annually on the third Saturday of May, and whereas Kids to Parks Day empowers kids to encourages families to get outdoors and visit local parks, public lands, and waters, and whereas we should encourage children to lead a more active lifestyle to combat issues of childhood obesity, diabetes, hypertension, and hypercholesterolemia. And whereas Kids to Parks Day will broaden children's appreciation for nature and outdoors, and Whereas Kids to Parks Day will recognize the importance of recreating responsibly while enjoying the benefits of the outdoors, and if you want to read the last one, Mayor?
And now therefore, we, the Nashville Town Council, do hereby proclaim May 22nd, 2022 as Kids to Parks Day. That's gonna be a fun day.
Should that be May 21st instead of 22nd?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
Okay, all
May
right.
21st is the Saturday.
Okay. Thank you.
I was wondering why the dates were different. Do I hear a motion that we approve the 2022 Kids to Parks Day?
Move to approve.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you again, Corey,
Thank you.
appreciate that. The next item on our agenda is the Club Drive right-of-way. And, Randy, do you want to
Sure.
discuss that?
As the council may recall, the town's discovered that a portion of Club Drive is actually built upon Johnny and Angela Matthews' property at 109 Club Drive. And it's advisable that the town acquire this .08 acres from the Matthews and make it part of the Club Drive right-of-way. Matthews are agreeable to selling that small portion of their property to the town for $3,500, with the town paying for the costs associated with transferring ownership of that property from them to the town. And attached is a resolution providing for the real estate purchase under these terms and setting a public hearing on it. So this is how it looks. You can see on your drawing on the page, it's 110 in your packet. But Club Drive, here's their property line here. And the edge of the road is right here. So that road has been on their property probably since Club Drive was built. And we just, like I said, recently discovered it. So what's proposed is that a new property line be drawn and it be basically where the back edge of the ditch is right now. So, I mean, physically, nothing's going to change in that neighborhood with anything. We're just adjusting a boundary line. So, that being the case, you know, they have a mortgage on their entire property, which includes that portion of Club Drive. So, there's some procedural things we need to go through in order for that release on their mortgage and to be effective, and then they can get full, clear property and convey it to us. But the next thing on this is the actual resolution that if the council is agreeable to this, that what the resolution says is that the council hereby offers $3,500 to the Matthews for the purchase of .08 acres of land that Club Drive is built upon, and that the town will pay the costs associated with transferring ownership of the property from the Matthews to the town of Nashville. And the second part of that, because we're purchasing land, a public hearing on purchasing that land is hereby set for June 7th, 2022 at 7 p.m. here at the Nashville Town Council Chambers. So if the council is all agreeable with that, it is in line to ask for a motion and second to approve resolution 2022-15.
Do I hear a motion to approve this resolution 2022-15 concerning the land at Club Drive?
Move to approve the resolution.
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Moving forward, the next item on our agenda is Fire Station 2.
All right. The town of Nashville and the Gully Fire District, as you guys know, have increased in size, the number of residents and structures, and that is all the responsibility of our Nashville Fire Department to cover that. That growth has made it more difficult for our fire station, our fire trucks to leave our fire station on Barnes and get to the east side of town and get to the far reaches of the Gully Fire District. And we try and maintain a response time of about 5 minutes. Well, if there's traffic, it takes 5 minutes just to get to Walmart, and then you have to go beyond that. So what we've been looking at doing, finding a site for a second fire station. And we have found that site. It's 4.5 acres. It's on Oak Level Road or East Washington Street within the town. Once you get out of town limits, it's Oak Level Road. And it's by the Woodfield Drive, that intersection right there. So we've negotiated a long-term lease on that 4.5 acres. And at this time, we're asking the council to set a public hearing on that lease agreement. That public hearing will be June 7th at 7 o'clock here at the town council chambers. And in that packet for that meeting will be the actual lease agreement and all the details. And then you'll have the public hearing. So if the public has questions about that agreement, that's the time and place to ask those questions.
Thank you. Randy, do I hear a vote to schedule a public hearing on this long-term?
I move that we schedule a public hearing on June 7th to discuss this lease agreement for fire station.
Okay, Ms. Hinton seconds. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Aye. So we'll schedule that meeting. The next item on the agenda is the employee assistant program, and I'll turn that over to Sarah.
So we were notified back in mid-April that the Nash UNC healthcare system would be terminating their current EAP contract as of June 30th, 2022. So a new provider has been acquired, and it's called Your EAP, and they have submitted a scope of services, fact sheets, and the contract for the council's review and approval. Ultimately, we really don't have a choice. So I have all the information in your packet, and it really just needs your approval if you're so inclined.
Yeah, this is required. Do I hear a motion for us to approve the new EAP contract with Your EAP?
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye. And for the public's interest, this initial contract is just for 1 year right now, to see how it works out.
For anybody wondering, it's Employee Assistance Program.
Yeah. And the neat thing about it, it's the exact same people.
Right.
They've
It just got a new name.
UNC has decided to drop it. They've incorporated and became their own company, and now they're providing the exact same thing at the same price.
Right.
Perfect.
The next item under new business is the 2022 sidewalk replacement project. Glad to see that.
So, what staff has done, we took a 14-block area around the Nashville Elementary School. We inspected all the sidewalks. My thanks to Chris Acock, who took the time to do that. He had a criteria of 5 different categories that he was grading those or inspecting them to. He tracked them. We added up the footage for it, put it all together, and what we're looking at is replacing approximately 2,870 linear feet of sidewalk, bad sidewalk. This is sidewalk that's cracked, broken, tree roots have gone under it. A lot of it is where driveways go over. It's just broken up over the years. I'm pretty sure all this sidewalk is original. I'm sure it's 80 years old or better. So we've definitely got our use out of it as a community. So we budgeted about we did, in the current fiscal year we're in, we budgeted $50,000 for sidewalk replacement. The bids that came back, there were 2 of them. One was from Weaver Asphalt. These are the specifications, the bid letting on it. There's the area that we're going to replace in. So Marshall Construction was one bidder, and their bid was $132,170. And Weaver Asphalt and Maintenance, their bid was $131,980. Now, it's more than what we budgeted, but they're not going to get it all done in this fiscal year anymore. I mean, we have May and June, and then the new fiscal year begins. They'll get started. So I guess what I'm recommending to the council is we award a contract for this, would cover 2 different fiscal years. Whatever they get done in this fiscal year, we pay them for, and then the balance, we budget for FY '23.
Randy, is this all coming from Powell bill funds?
Is John here?
No, this would not be for Powell bill funds. Right now in the transportation budget, there's $400,000 budgeted, and I think about like $2,300 spent thus far, but the original budget had $350 for streets and $50 for sidewalk, and that $400,000 number in the transportation department.
So going forward in the FY '23 budget, when we have our budget work sessions coming up here on the 18th and 24th, what John and I are recommending are ARPA money. You know, we got $885,000 this fiscal year. Here soon, we're going to get the other half of that. And you guys have talked about using that for water and sewer and streets. So what we're proposing is half of that money go for streets and sidewalks, and that will allow us to catch up nicely on our street surfacing and really address these sidewalks that are existing in the older parts of town that are in need of repair. So ARPA money and Powell Fund money.
The reason I ask is at one time we were talking about leveraging the Powell bill money to take out a loan. Do you remember that?
Yeah, we aren't going to need to do that.
Okay. So, that's good.
Yeah, we're going to have fun when we get into the budget work session. You can see how we're going to put that ARPA money to work in this upcoming fiscal year and stretch our own dollars. And later in the meeting here, we get to the manager's report. I got some exciting news to report to you guys too about some grants that we've applied for.
Randy, I have one more question. Looking at the map, is the north side of Washington Street included in this? No.
It is not. It's the south side.
Okay, is it just the perimeter there that we're looking at, or anything inside the perimeter?
Everything inside that colored area. And some of those blocks don't have sidewalks.
Right.
So the same question for Alston, First, and Cross. It's
Well,
just-
Alston, we did include a section which would be on the west side of Alston.
Okay, in between Church and CVS.
Yes. I received, I don't remember where it came from, but somebody said you need to take a look at that area too, so Chris did, and that quantity is in here also.
Okay.
Do I hear a motion that we award 2020 sidewalk replacement project contract to Weaver Asphalt and Maintenance Company in Resolution 2022-14?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
So we'll be getting us some good sidewalks. The next item on our agenda is the Wastewater tower painting.
So, you know, we have a contract with a water tower company from Roanoke Rapids, and its name escapes me at the moment. Southern Corrosion. And they are recommending our Wastewater tower have an exterior painting. So they had given us a ballpark figure for budgeting at around, Lee, what was it, 70,000? So in anticipation of the upcoming budget and being able to do that, Lee went and asked for bids from companies that paint water towers, and we received those in. Did we jump ahead on the agenda? And I've lost my place, I'm sorry here.
Take your time.
I've gone from the sidewalks to,
Water tower.
You have to go past that
Page
item.
160, does that help you?
160 of 171.
Page 160, Barry.
Get out of order, maybe?
yes. Okay, there it is. So, our new exterior paint, it will revive the current fading paint on the west water tower and provide another 10-year protection for this, you know, it's a critical piece of our infrastructure for our water system. And protecting the coatings on that is vital. So we may want to take this opportunity also to maybe look at a new logo or painting a logo. Right now, we have Nashville on one side of that tower. It's the side that faces 64 and not on the other side. I guess we all know, living here in Nashville, that it's Nashville, but that's just a suggestion. But Southern Corrosion, their proposal for repainting that to the specifications that Lee worked together with, I believe, Rural Water to come up with, was $68,262. The other bid was from American Tank and Maintenance for $69,333. So staff is recommending awarding a painting contract to American Tank Company in that amount, I'm sorry, Southern Corrosion from Roanoke Rapids in the amount of $68,262.
Now, does that include doing a logo, or that's,
They would repaint the Nashville on it, that's there.
because we could do the Home of the Blooming Festival, or Be Original, Be Nashville, you know,
I'd
something.
like to see something like that, original Nashville and the year, and or either Home of the Blooming Festival
Okay,
to be incorporated into that since we got to paint it anyway.
Yeah.
See how much extra that will be.
Yeah, how much extra?
yes. I'm
And
sure
then
if we
we'll
put
talk.
color paint up there, it's gonna be more. I'm not sure how they stencil all that. They got a big projector that goes up there and they just trace it, or?
And I don't recall, but I can't cite anybody in specifically, but the last time that tower was painted, we had some problems with overspray going out into that neighborhood right there beside of it. So we need to make sure that they do all they can not get that overspray go over, because it seems like we had some cars and stuff that got overspray on it the last time that tank was painted. Is there a clause in there that they are liable for that and not the town?
They are, they have insurance for that. They take measures to minimize that as much as possible. I know in past towns that I've been in, if somebody got overspray on their vehicle or something, in most cases, they use a paint that dries very quickly, and it just ends up being a dust or a powder. So the next rain, it washes away, or you take your power garden hose to it and wash it down. It doesn't stick. I mean, when it travels that far from up there, it's dry when it hits anything on the ground.
Do I hear, if there are no other questions concerning this, do I hear a motion to approve and awarding this contract to Southern Corrosion
So
in the
made.
amount of $68,200?
So made.
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
We do approve, motion carries. The next item on our agenda is our budget amendments for 2022-21 through 2022-26.
Yeah, I asked John to come to the podium and explain the budget amendments.
So budget amendment number one, water sewer fund got a NCLM safety grant that had a $5,000 match. But total cost for that project would be $20,000, so there's a $15,000 movement around in other water fund expenditures, as well as moving other water fund expenditures into distribution system supplies in the amount of $25,000. Increases revenues by $5,000, increases expenses by $5,000.
Move to approve the amendment.
Second.
Second? You second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next amendment?
Budget Amendment 22 is water purchases are higher than expected. That's due to increased volume in how much we build out, as well as for several months, wells have been down, so we ended up having to buy more. It's in the amount of $90,000, and it's increasing water sewer taps of $6,000, late fees of 15,000, sale surplus property of 7,500, and water revenue of 61,500.
Do I hear a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor, let it know by saying aye. Aye. Approved.
Budget Amendment 23 is about the budgets in specific line items in the water sewer fund due to insurance and bonds. It's no change in revenue and no change in overall expenditures.
Move
That's
to
moving.
approve.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next.
Budget Amendment 24 is the same thing but in the general fund, and it resulted in a $15,000 increase from what was originally adopted. The offsetting revenue is sales and use tax distribution in the amount of $15,115.
Do I hear a motion to approve amendment number 24?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next.
Budget Amendment 25, in fiscal year 21, there was the planning department had a Nashville comprehensive plan. That line item, it had 80-some thousand dollars budgeted, but only $60,000 spent, so that difference rolled into fund balance at the end of the year. However, there were invoices that were billed out in 22 that were paid, and this is just appropriating that money that should have been encumbered at the end of last year.
Approval of amendment number 25.
So made.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Budget Amendment 26 is budgeting for the increase in fuel costs.
Do I hear a motion that we approve amendment number 26?
So made.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so very
Thank you.
much. We appreciate it. The next item is the town manager's report.
Mayor, could we go back to item 8C and just get a motion to table that?
Okay,
8C.
on 8C, the inducement agreement, do I hear a motion to table that
So
agreement?
moved.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Okay, manager's report.
So May 2nd was a big day in state of North Carolina for grant submission. And we are at the table getting hopefully our share with the help of the Upper Coastal Plains Council of Governments. We submitted a $3.7 million wastewater reserve application to the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality to get grant money to extend the water or sewer system in part of Essex Road subdivision that doesn't have access to the town sewer, and a portion of the Regency Estates subdivision, which again is on private septics and doesn't have access to the town's sewer system. We also, with help of our consultant, Matt Gay and Associates, submitted 4 grant applications. 2, there was a water asset inventory assessment. That was $150,000. We put in again for that. We also did the same on the sewer side, $150,000 asset inventory assessment application on the sewer side. Then we had talked about submitting an application of about $7.2 million to do a rehab on our Stony Creek sewer outfall line. In doing that application, we discovered that they were really looking for infrastructure that was over 40 years old. It's 38 and a half. So we couldn't get maximum points. But Mike Tolson said, Nashville, you have tons of other sewer lines that are older than 40 years. Let's substitute that. So he put in for us $6,541,000 on sewer rehab and manhole rehab in the older parts of town, which will accomplish the same thing, where we're trying to button up the system and get rid of the infiltration and the I&I that we're currently sending to Rocky Mount and paying for. Then back to the Stony Creek, this same division of water infrastructure, these wastewater reserve funds, you can put in for an application to study a project. So what he did is the Stony Creek outfall line, he put in an $85,000 planning grant for us. There might be some options to that line. You know, Part of the problem with that line is it's 3.5 miles built through a swamp alongside Stony Creek. And since it's been built, there are manholes we have no way of getting to. They must have built it during a drought. I don't know how else they got to it. But, you know, all of our jetting equipment is on a very big truck, and you need a very stable road to get to it, so to speak. Part of that $7.2 million was just to build an access road to get to those 54 manholes. What Mike is suggesting and put in for was a planning grant. We could look at other options, such as maybe we do away with the gravity portion, which has manholes that you need to get to and clean and televise, and we replace it with a very large lift station that has one entrance, and that's at the edge of Nashville, and the other end is in Rocky Mount, so to speak. So you don't have to worry about getting in, accessing at any point. It's just force main all the way through. So anyway, that was the exciting news I was alluding to earlier, that we put in for our share of grants, and all this is ARPA money down from the federal government to the state, and we feel, one more to mention, the Rural Transformation Grant for the Junction. We worked with Kara Rogers, our grant writer, and we submitted that application on Monday. We busted our tails to do it, and then they extended the deadline day by 3 days. But we already had ours in, so maybe we'll get some additional points for that.
That's
I don't
right.
know. But very hopeful for that too. That would give us the money that we need to fulfill all the agreements that the town has with Michael Hurt, the developer on the Junction, and do it right out of the gate, and get something that is the whole community will be proud of. So we should know on all of those grants by June 16th. We will already have our budget for that, or set our budget. None of those projects are included in what we're going to present to the council for the upcoming budget. If we get those grants, then we will do as we've done in the past. We will amend our revenue and our expenses in our FY23 budget to accommodate those. So the other thing, we had our second farmers market. I thought it was very well attended once again. That particular one, we do have a farmers market vendor that sells craft beer. You could only buy it at this particular farmers market for carry out and take home. I was approached by 3 or 4 people while I was up there. How come we can't get beer by the cup? So, you know, the council approved a special event so that we could have, I think, 4 of those events for this season. I guess I would like the council to give some thought to maybe making that an event, a special event, allowing that at every farmer's market. A couple of people have told me they feel as if we have, with our time frame being on a Friday afternoon and evening, people are getting off work, they're coming up there not only to shop the vendors, but to relax, to socialize, and unwind from the week, and just to have a cold cup of beer and be able to sit down in the shade up there in that atmosphere. They would really welcome that opportunity. You don't have that with a Saturday morning farmer's market. It's not the same atmosphere.
Randy, would you talk to us also about the Butterfield Grant that did not come through?
Yes, you know, we've been very excited for Fire Station 2 that we were awarded a $1.33 million grant through Congress. Well, it was an earmark, a congressional earmark from Congressman Butterfield. That was passed a couple months back when the federal government adopted the FY23 federal budget. Unfortunately, it's being run through USDA, and it came with language in the bill that approved it, that it's subject to median household income requirements. What that means for Nashville, the Gully Fire District, and our fire department is that 1.33 million is being made available to us in a loan, not a grant, which is extremely disappointing. Depending upon if we use census tract data or township data for median household income, we may qualify for a 15% grant, only 15% of the 1.33 million.
That we were led to believe.
So
Even though we're a tier one county, that,
we are, but our portion within this tier, our median household income is above the state average. So that wipes us out from getting hardly any of that as grant money. You have to be below the state median household income, which is, I think, like 42,000. The average household income in the Gully Fire District that will benefit from that is 48.
Very disappointing, because we just knew it was a grant. And so, very sad. But anyway,
But
we
good
went
news.
on what they told us. You know,
Yes.
we trusted them, and then we found out it's administered a different way. But I'm real proud of the grant writing and getting those grants in. And I think we need to stick with our legislators, become their best friends, call them, and tell them to watch out for funds for us, because that's the only way we're going to get it. And these grants help us tremendously, I tell you. They are a great source. But thank you, Randy, and the people that did the grants. Any comments from the council?
I would like to give a huge thank you to Coy and Ashley and the rest of the Parks team and the Farmers Market team. That was a fantastic opening. I think we had projected over 2,000 citizens that showed up to the Farmers Market, followed by concert in the park, and you made it look easy. I know it was a ton of work, but you made it look easy. It was wonderful. So huge thank you to you two and everyone else that went into that. I also wanted to thank our Public Works Department. I've been seeing all the improvements around town with the beautification for Blooming Festival, so I know that's a lot of hard work as well. And then just to Randy for, always doing what you do and administering these, grants and facilitating getting them out, and so just thank you.
Thank you.
I had one question. In the interest of transparency, I had several people to call me and ask why we did not meet on the 19th. And I couldn't give them a good reason. And I received an email from Sarah on the 18th as a reminder that we would not meet because of schedule conflicts. And for the life of me, I didn't see anything in the April 5th minutes that indicated we would not meet.
I'll address that, because as it turns out, I was presiding that night of our first meeting in April, and I got confused. I knew that the council had voted regarding a holiday delay or postponement of a meeting. It was actually in July, and I made this statement, I think, in the public meeting on April's meeting, that we would not meet again that month. And so I think that staff followed my lead in what I said. There was nothing intentional. There was nothing to try to do anything underhanded or under the table. It was simply a mistake.
But that was not in the minutes. That was not, what you said was not in the minutes.
Well, if we need to amend the minutes, we can amend the minutes. That's what happened.
And the reason, I think, is because it was Easter break.
It
And
was.
so
It
many
was.
folks would have been out of town, myself included. And so,
But it was like a reminder, and I thought, well, I didn't know that we'd even talked about not having a meeting.
Well, we're humans and we make mistakes, and we aren't trying to hide anything. We love all of you, and we're very upfront with you. Any other?
If we talked about it, it should be in the minutes.
She's just amended it to the minutes. Any other input? I just thank you so much.
She said everything I want to say.
Apartments here in this town, and you just make us so proud. And everywhere I go, I'm just hearing about the good things that's happening in Nashville. So just keep it up, and we're going to be blessed more than we could ever imagine. Do I hear a motion that we adjourn?
so moved.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Meeting